Hey guys, so I just wanted to preface this video by saying that I'm not going to be talking any basic MLB DFS strategy in any of these videos. I feel like I'm the most helpful when I'm talking about the more advanced stuff, so I'm just going to leave the basic stuff up to you to research on your own time. So I'm also going to link to an article that's a basic strategy article my brother Danny wrote a while ago that's called The 3 Ps of Daily Fantasy Baseball. It's a great just read up on if you're really unfamiliar with baseball. But so let's begin. So one key difference between basketball and baseball and daily fantasy is that the difference in skill between players in baseball is not all that great, or not all that great compared to basketball. So for example, the difference in the expected points between Steph Curry and Jay Crowder on a given night might be Steph Curry might be projected at 50 points, and Jay Crowder might be projected at 25 points. So Curry's projection is about double. Baseball, however, is different. The difference in projection between a high-tier guy like Bryce Harper, who would be the equivalent of Steph Curry in basketball, and Matt Duffy, who might be the equivalent of Jay Crowder, might be Bryce Harper could be projected at 10 points, Duffy could be projected at 7 or 8. So even hitters who are mid-tier guys, maybe 3 out of 10 or 4 out of 10 nights might actually outperform high-tier players. So picking the right hitter on projection alone isn't all that helpful. So that's how baseball strategy, or how baseball in general differs from NBA. And so it requires a different GPP philosophy. And my MLB GPP philosophy is very simple. And it's find the high upside plays. So the question is, how do we do that? So there are 2 stats in DFS baseball that are really great for finding high upside plays. The 2 stats are the stolen base and the home run. If you can predict who's going to steal bases, or you can predict who's going to hit home runs, you're going to do very, very well in DFS GPPs, in DFS baseball. So today's video is about predicting home runs. I will have videos in the future that are about predicting stolen bases, but today is about home runs. So let's just get it right into it. So the first thing is you should go to this, and you haven't signed up for my site already, DailyFantasyWinners. We have some great MLB tools that will be added in the first week, and one that is great for home runs is something called MLB Pitcher Home Runs Allowed. So basically this is something that my brother Danny created, and it uses Steamer, which is a very great projection system you can find on Fangraphs.com, and Fangraphs.com is going to be a site you should be visiting a lot if you're playing daily fantasy baseball. And it basically takes Steamer projections for how many home runs a pitcher might allow throughout a season over 200 innings, and takes into account the pitcher's home park factor. So if you're not familiar with park factors, I'm not going to get into it. The short of it is basically different ballparks are better or worse for hitting, especially home runs. And you should definitely read about park factors if you're going to get into daily fantasy baseball. But essentially, we're just trying to have a very park neutral assessment of how prone to giving up a home run pitcher is. So this year, the most home run prone pitcher is Jared Weaver, and he has a .1685 rating. So we consider a .125 number to be a high home run allowed pitcher, so keep that in mind. So in opening day, there are a few pitchers that we see that are high home runs allowed. 2 of them are in the same game. That's Chris Tillman and Irvin Santana. So Chris Tillman has a .1308, that's above .125. Irvin Santana is a very high home run allowed, .1383. There's also Jeremy Hellickson, who's pitching for the Phillies against the Reds. He's .1262. And there's also R.A. Dickey, who's .1284. And lastly, there's Julio Teheran, who is .1263. So we found the pitchers who are very home run prone. So now we need to find 2 things. One, are they playing in a park that is conducive to home runs? And 2, are they facing guys who are hitting home runs? So the first thing we need to find is, are they playing in a park that's conducive to home runs? So this is also quite easy. First, you have to find out what park they're playing in. So both Santana and Tillman are playing at Oriole Park in Camden Yards. If you go to FanGraphs and you look at their park factors, which are the ones that I use, you find that the Orioles Park has a 108 home run rating, top 5 in the league. So they're a very, very home run prone park. Great. But maybe a guy like Julio Teheran, who's also a home run prone pitcher, we're going to look at his park, and you see the Braves, they're sort of towards the bottom. Their park is not that conducive to home runs. So we're not that gung-ho about targeting players against him. That being said, a very home run prone lefty, or a very home run hitting lefty, because Teheran is a right-hander that allows a lot of hits and home runs to lefties. Someone like Bryce Harper actually is probably an awesome target here, and someone I'll probably be using a lot tomorrow. But in general, if a home run prone pitcher is gonna be at just a pitcher's park like Turner Field, you're just not gonna just be that gung-ho about targeting these guys. But I still think Bryce Harper is a good play. But let's go back to the pitchers who are pitching at Camden Yards, Irvin Santana and Chris Tillman. So basically what we want to do right now is we want to locate the hitters who are going to hit home runs off of Irvin Santana, and therefore are the guys who are going to have big upside against him. Now, this is another thing, is you're just going to simply have to get familiar with a lot of the players by just looking them up on FanGraphs. But so one target, for example, that is a very big home run hitter is Chris Davis. So I'm just going to look him up really fast just because. But I'm not going to do this for all hitters. You're just going to have to take my word for it for some of these guys. But basically, Chris Davis is a really great power hitter on the Orioles. And he's a lefty, which is good because lefties hit righties better than righties hit righties. And he's a guy who, over a given season, Steamer projects at hitting 37 home runs. Some of these predicting for 40. That's a pretty big power hitter. So a guy like Chris Davis, a power hitting lefty, or maybe a guy like Pedro Alvarez and Matt Wieters, these are all guys who are most likely going to, well, not most likely going to hit home runs, but they're the most likely guys on the Orioles to hit home runs off of Santana. And since the home run is just worth so much on FanDuel, 18 points, and on DraftKings even more, it's going, well, actually maybe less this year. Getting these guys and predicting and finding the guys who are going to hit a home run, these are going to be guys you can insert into any lineup. So for the Orioles against Santana, Davis, Wieters, and Alvarez are great targets. So on the flip side, Chris Tillman is actually a unique player, and I just know this from playing baseball last year, but this is something you'll be able to discover yourself soon, is Chris Tillman actually is a right-hander that righties do better against. So you can find the stat by looking at Tillman's FanGraph page, and if you go to the splits tab, which we'll load in a second, and go to his career, you'll actually find that over his career, Tillman has allowed a WOBA of .331 against righties, which is actually higher than his WOBA of .317 against lefties. So righties in Tillman's career actually hit better, and it actually makes sense given the pitches he throws, but that will be something that I'll have to explain in another video. So actually, this is something that's, I think, is awesome, because a lot of people will see Tillman, see that he's a righty, and they might go on FantasyLabs and they're like, I just want to play someone who's only the opposite hand. So they go, I'm going to play Eddie Rosario and Joe Mauer. Great. That actually is not smart at all. What you actually want is you want guys who are right-handed power hitters going against Tillman. These are guys like Miguel Sanjo and Byung-Ho Park. So while some people might be going with Mauer and Rosario, I recommend actually going Park and Sanjo and Dozier against a guy like Tillman, and you actually will. It's actually more likely these guys are going to be the ones that hit home runs, and these guys are actually great power hitters, and really high upside guys. So I love, especially Park and Sanjo, I love both of them against Tillman. So that's the basic strategy. I mean, with Dickey, for example, if you look at him, he's at the Rays Park, and the Rays Park is just not great, very conducive to home runs. So it's not like you're all over Rays players here, like Evan Longoria or something. So basically, that's the gist of it. Throughout the year, you're actually going to find much better matchups than this because opening day, all the best pitchers are pitching. But as people get injured, or as people are going to their fourth and fifth starter, you're going to find guys who are on the road in a really hitter-friendly park, really fly ball, really high home run allowed pitchers, and you're actually going to find that you can predict home runs pretty easily. Although in baseball, there's so much variance that you're never going to be right that often. So take my advice. This stat is really great. It's not, once you look at players, once you get familiar with everything, you'll get the hang of it, and it'll be quite easy, and you'll be able to do this as fast as I do. No projections needed, no programming skills needed, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the subscribe button right down there and subscribe. Look out for more videos. And if you have any questions, feel free to tweet me at MaxJSteinberg. Thanks for watching, guys.